Burns and the ideological allies like notorious streamers Vaush, Ian Kaczynski, Destiny, Stephen Kenneth Bunnell, Socialism Done Left, The Serfs, Xander Hall. Wait, are we saying the Serfs aren't a real leftist? Really? Man, the purity testing is insane here. So literally everyone in the space isn't a real leftist, okay? It's all just the international. They're the only real leftists. And you can show how much of a real leftist they are by how much they want to infight. So this is an article that was just brought to my attention that apparently I've been told mentions me in a not flattering light. It was brought to my attention by SDL. People were putting it in chat. I didn't know this article existed until today, or really like a few minutes ago. I haven't read it. It brings me up, it brings up NAFO, it brings up a lot of people. It talks about the online Pseudoleft is the title. I haven't read any of it, but I'm excited to hear about its many critiques. It says that I've apologized for the Azov Battalion, and that that I'm about a bunch of bad things. So I'm very interested to see exactly what they have to say about me as the evil CIA shield, a deep state man. So let's read the article. Let's see what they have to say. Let's see what they have to say. Let's read it. This is by Dawn Harju. I don't know who Dawn Harju is. Again, I've Googled it. I don't see anything. Like nothing really came up. Maybe they have a social media like I can look at, or like other work I can look at. Do they have anything? Doesn't look like it. Well, anyway, let's read it. This is from the International, the socialist magazine, the communist magazine. The connection between the United States intelligence community, mass media, and social media is so well known, it's a joke. Scandals like Cambridge Analytica let the cat out of the bag, and books like Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent and Michael Parenti's Inventing Reality have analyzed it to death. Journalist Alan McLeod has been documenting the disturbing trend of Atlantic Council, FBI, and CIA hires at Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit for many years. Just this past year, the Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, published a story detailing how TikTok influencers received consultation from the White House on the Ukraine-Russian conflict. Okay? I think that's very different from the CIA, but okay, we'll keep going. McLeod refers to the state of affairs as Operation Mockingbird 2 and referenced the original Operation Mockingbird described by former CIA agent John Stockwell. Okay, got you. So far, it's there. The White House has talked to TikTokers about Ukraine and Russia. And what else? What was that it? Yeah, and then he just like quoted books. Okay, we'll keep going. Twitch, also owned by Bezos, came under fire in 2020 when Jordan Yule reported that the U.S. Army Esports and U.S. Navy Esports channel were tricking viewers with a fraudulent sweepstakes that also signed them up for the JROTC. I do remember that. That was pretty wild. More recently, a Vice report exposed U.S. Army plans to pay streamers millions to drive up recruitment rates among Gen Z. It is true that Army recruitment rates have been down, and they've been trying to look for new ways to recruit people. It isn't the first time they've tried to recruit like video gamers and stuff like that. They've tried to like advertise to them before at like gaming conferences and stuff like that. I do think that they are targeting them through streamers and streaming more directly, though. That's a new concept, though. Twitch is also a haunt for streamers who fancy themselves political analysts to engage in debates. They put quote unquote debates with, I don't know what that means. I guess it's not a real debate with one another, like a chinsizer, I'm bad with English. I guess it's like an insulted version of Crossfire. Instead of two gacked out guys in suits spinning at each other from across a glass table, the debate sphere often looks like a grid of smarmy young faces arguing fatuously for their gamer chairs into the webcam for hours. It's more like a wrestling match based or reality TV than a productive exchange. It depends on the debate. Some of them can be more productive. A lot of them are a lot less productive. The problem is with, I think, Twitch is a gaming platform. It is a platform centered around entertainment, and it's very hard to succeed on a platform centered around entertainment as somebody doing an educational interaction, right? And the people who have come on Twitch and have just been like, hey, you know what we are? We're just going to talk about economics today. They don't do well. The only person that I know of that have done something similar to that is IRI, and he is engaged in debates as well. I don't think debates are necessarily like all toxic or bad. I think they can be productive. I think you can learn from them, but I also don't think you should take them too seriously in the space. But I also enjoy them. You know, I think it can be interesting and intellectually stimulating to go back and forth and have to test your ideas against others. I think it can allow you to smooth out what you believe. Even if it's silly and not always the most productive. It's more like a wrestling match or a reality TV than a productive exchange, but without the physical skill or sly wink. Now, the thing is, they say that of the online, right? But let's be for real. Most debates on television are no better. Are we going to say that Fox News debates are productive, interesting, like insightful conversations? Or are we going to say that they're also like, you know, garbage fires? What about presidential debates? Would we say that the last few presidential debates we had between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and Joe Biden were extremely productive, policy-oriented conversations? Not really. What about the Republican primary debates? Every once in a while they are, but a lot of the times they're not. I think that on Twitch, it just kind of intensifies what seems to be a general trend in our society of having very vitriolic, maybe not always productive conversations. But that's always been the situation to some extent when it comes to like debate in the United States. Video titles often boast in all caps about debate participants going ballistic and crushing their opponents in an off-the-rails verbal brawl. True. These debates, much like those featured on CNN or C-SPAN, are more spectacles than discussion, with streamers often coordinating behind the scenes as though they are putting on a show or trying to. What is this linked to? What is this linked to? Wish you the best. Nothing personal. Hope you had a lot of cash. I don't do debates/streams. What? What is this supposed to... As though they are putting on a show or trying to. What is this evidence of? This is just a DM from the Quartering saying that they don't do debates. I guess this is like saying that he insulted Keffals in order to get attention, and that means that they're putting on shows or trying to... I don't really understand the source here, but whatever. Most of these people are well off, but play at being relatable. What does that mean? Like, most of them are well off? Are most of us well off? I would say that most of the people in the debate space are not well off. Most of the people in the political commentary space are not well off. At least they don't make a lot of money from doing what they do. There's like a few political commentators who make enough money to sustain themselves. Like Joe Lewis, the black streamer we've had on the stream a few times to talk about black and brown issues and debate those issues. He doesn't make enough money off of streaming. He's like a teacher full time. There's a lot of people like that who engage in the debate space. In fact, I would say the majority of the people who engage in the debate space were not full-timers who, you know, made a killer off of it, a killer living.
Burns is an immoral,
morally corrupt, bankrupt man. Montage123, thank you for the primer. I really appreciate it. Dylan, they're talking about Hassan and Hassan only. True. Most of these people are well off, but play at being relatable. Some affect Slovenness. Much the way Boris Johnson messes up his hair. Some affect much in the same way Boris Johnson messes up his hair. I think this person's just projecting. I'm going to be honest. I don't know of any trend of like streamers trying to be more messy than they are. Oh, they're so Sloven. Oh my God, they're so messy. That's just streamers, man. They wear sweatpants. They wear hoodies. They don't wear suits and ties. And the only debate streamer I know of in the space that ever like wore suits and ties is Kevin Castley, another person who doesn't make a living off of doing debates, but still does it because he has a love for it. They perform a leftist aesthetic, but regurgitate bourgeoisie values for a young, alienated, largely white male and middle-class audience. Well, I mean, it depends on the purpose, right? Like they said, oh, this debate sphere, but like a lot of the people in the debate sphere aren't leftists. Like Counterpoints, he's not a leftist. Taj, they aren't leftists. Not So Erudite, they aren't leftists. I mean, leftists in the way that they mean leftists. Because when they say leftist, they don't just mean, oh, you're like left wing in the United States political spectrum. They mean like you're a socialist or you're a communist or you're something of that ilk, right? There's a lot of people in the space who aren't like that. But when they perform a leftist aesthetic, what is somebody that perform a leftist aesthetic but regurgitates bourgeois values? Who would be the person they're talking about here? I would like to see an example. They don't provide an example, but whatever. Guess they don't need to provide examples. Serious political disagreements get reduced to drama, interpersonal feuds, and cynical point scoring. Sometimes, but there's also like a lot of legitimate drama, right? Like there's drama in the space that isn't really like politics, it's just like interpersonal drama. In fact, a lot of the most successful content out there in the space is the actual just drama content. Like a satyr reverberating of the compatible left phenomenon of the 20th century, many of these factions flood the field online today. For the sake of simplicity, we will be considering a handful of that have already been active within the last couple of years, namely debate sphere liberals. Okay, so they're separate from the leftists, I guess. NAFO, tied to the Georgian Legion. I guess like NAFO is tied to the Georgian Legion. It used to be more tied to the Georgian Legion. NAFO is like a lot less tied to the Georgian Legion now. Seem to be raising a lot of money for other organizations, but originally it was the Georgian Legion. PATSOCs, tied to the LaRouchites, and anti-civ nihilists, eco-fascists with ties to the Boogaloo Boys. Who are they specifically talking about there? I'm interested. Not really. While these groups will often claim to despise each other, they often share a lot in common, both ideologically and professionally, including a strange habit of a sense of emphasizing the need to collaborate or rehabilitate far-right reactionaries and framing any resistance to this as purity politics. I don't agree with that. They share a lot of common. They show a lot in common, both ideologically and professionally, including a strange habit of emphasizing the need to collaborate with or rehabilitate far-right reactionaries and framing any resistance to this as purity politics. I remember when, like, Lauren Southerns, when I hosted that debate between Lauren Southern and the Serfs, like, the Serfs went out of their way at the end to try to make sure they painted Lauren Southern in the worst possible light. I mean, considering Lauren Southern's record, it's not extremely difficult to do that. The worst possible light, because they didn't want anybody coming away thinking Lauren Southern was like a great person or like somebody to really listen to seriously politically. I think again, this is like a case by case basis on like who rehabilitates like the far right image. I think the only person that this accusation somewhat gets thrown at that I really know of in the space frequently would be not Lauren Southern. It would be Destiny. For example, a few names mentioned in the article belong to the same content creation company, White Forest, despite sometimes having ostensibly opposing political views. Wait, what is that? Wait, what? Wait. Who is hosted on White Forest that is a fascist? He said they work to rehabilitate fascists, but who's on the White Forest website that's a fascist? Can we go look at the White Forest website quickly? Not found. Ah, this is a great link. This is very good sourcing. I really appreciate it. We go to White Forest. We go to the website. White Forest. Somebody send me a link to White Forest. We'll keep reading the article. We'll go back and check, but I don't think there's that. I know White Forest. I think enough to know that they would not be hosting fascists on their website. And also, White Forest, as far as I know, isn't supposed to just be, hey, we just host everybody that agrees on all the politics. Like, they do host people that disagree. I think the most right-wing person that is hosted on White Forest is Counterpoints, who I would not call a fascist. This allows them to push reactionary rhetoric that shifts their young viewership to the right rather than rehabbing anyone to the left, while allowing hardened right-wingers to pose as reform leftists for the gullible. This is reminiscent of the terminally online fascists who come up with ops on sites like 4chan or Kiwi Farms. So wait, it's like a conspiracy? So it's like a conspiracy, like it's ops? Like so the debate space exists to push reactionary rhetoric and shift people to the right rather than rehabbing anyone to the left. But then, for example, let's talk about the person who I think they would not like the most here, probably like Destiny. If you step on a Destiny debate, whether he's debating somebody who is like a far-right lunatic that he's debating on conspiracy theories around the 2020 election or some other nonsense, or he's debating somebody for being a socialist communist and he doesn't like socialism, doesn't like communism, depending on the day, it could be either or, right? But if you look at the majority of the space on Twitch, the political space on Twitch, it is left-wingers, 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 left-wingers. Can we look at what is currently live on Twitch? Let's look at all the political streamers that are live. We got IRI, a Bidenite liberal, right? I guess this is the most right-wing you're probably going to get on Twitch outside of maybe like Rob Noor, right? Then you've got Rhizome, a person who doesn't believe in voting, by the way, who doesn't like want, I don't believe they believe in voting because they're like an anarchist, or like they're that type of a socialist that doesn't believe in participating in electoral politics. $27, who is a Scottish socialist. You've got Hasanabi, who doesn't really engage in the debate space unless it's like, you know, favorable to him. Then he's going to debate someone like Christian Walker because he's a big and popular and, you know, brings viewership, or then he'll debate somebody like Andrew Tate. And therefore, that's when it's beneficial for him. Then he will engage in debates when it can get decent viewership, or he thinks, you know, it could be beneficial in some way. Then you've got an actual right winger of 67 viewers, and that is Rob Noor. This is the one person you could say is substantially right wing. What else we got? We got the Young Turks, but I don't know if I want to count them here. Let's see what else we got. Gappy, but he's a gaming streamer. And that's all that's live for now. So not really a lot of far right. I don't really see the far right here. I guess the furthest right wing that I think I see streaming on Twitch right now is Rob Noor. And if you talk about how Rob Noor engages with everybody else in the space, I mean, Rob Noor does not have the most like, oh, we're all friendly and all can get along because we all, you know, we're all very similar in ideas, and, you know, you guys agree with me on this. Like, Rob Noor engages with anybody else in this space. It is, they are debating him because they fervently disagree with him, and they want to push his audience against the ideas that he holds, the right-wing ideas he holds. Like, that happens constantly on the platform. This allows them to push reactionary rhetoric that shifts their young viewership to the right rather than rehabbing anyone to the left, while allowing hardened right-wingers to pose as reformed leftists for the gullible. So who is the hardened right-winger that is posing as a reformed leftist? Because they're saying this, right? That it's like a 4chan op, or they're posing this way, or it's a grift. But I'd like to see like a specific, like, here is the leftist posing as a right-winger. I want to, like, let's point at the person. These schemes typically involve masquerading as some kind of leftist or marginalized group online, masquerading as a marginalized, so they're like pretending to be black or like pretending to be gay. Okay, well, I would like to see some proof of that. I don't see any links here. In order to wreck any chance of solidarity and to instigate petty squabbles. You know, we haven't even gotten to the CNN debate libtards yet, the Dylan Burns stuff. The thing that's interesting about this is that they keep making assumptions on intent, like, oh, the reason they're doing this is to wreck chances of solidarity. That's why the debate space exists. It's not to make money, which would at least be a more acceptable conclusion for me, that people want to make money or get a lot of viewership. Or it's to, you know, convince people of their ideas. Novel concept, I know. It's to wreck any chance of solidarity and to instigate petty squabbles, as if that's the intent behind it, because it has to be a nefarious plot, and it can't just be that a lot of people enjoy arguing, just like people enjoy debate club. I mean, it's not that difficult. There's a reason why people like Crossfire. The debate streamers deploy smear tactics against critics as a sport that fans find entertaining and feel encouraged to emulate. This includes the demands that critics debate them as a ploy to generate controversy and cause humiliation, coordinate swarming of enemy accounts. I mean, I would like to see some some proof of this. Like, who's coordinating the swarming? Like, if you're gonna make an accusation, they coordinate swarming of enemy accounts. And I don't know what he means by enemy accounts. He even puts it in quote tweets. You gotta like put a link here to an example of this happening, because that's called harassment and that's against Twitch terms of service. So if that's happening, the smart thing would be to report the behavior. And if anybody's trying to coordinate harassment, they should be banned. As for the debate me thing, yeah, they enjoy debates. They ask people to debate them. While I do think it can get annoying, there is a genuine frustration that I know a lot of people who do a lot of live streaming and have a lot of conversations with people feel, which is they hate it when somebody can critique them from a distance, but they then are not willing to come in front of them and like engage in a back and forth dialogue, because they feel like the points that they make that are quite dishonest, they would be unwilling to defend in, you know, in an environment where they could actually be directly confronted. Which, you know, for example, let's say I find multiple things in here that I find are just completely wrong about me, or they're not really well substantiated. Would it be wrong of me to say the person who wrote this article, they should come on my show and talk to me about it? Or I would invite them on my show and they should talk to me about this. You can call it debate, call it whatever you want. Is that me like trying to cause humiliation and generate controversy? Or is that me generally interested in correcting the record? Is that me interested in having a conversation because I think that you lied about me or you said something wrong about me? There's a lot of assumption of intent here instead of just like listing out the things that have happened in the space. Mott and Bailey rhetorical games and character assassination. Another curious tendency is that they all hate genuine communists, even if they try to pose as one, and never seem interested in discussing or encouraging actual real life organizing. They all hate genuine communists, every single one. That's interesting. That's very interesting. It's crazy. I didn't know they all hated the genuine communists. Knowing that the international, of course, are the ones who know who the real communists are. Because as we all know, the people who start pointing, you're the real communists and you're the fake communists, they have always been the best people. They will claim to be true inheritors of a radical tradition while spewing vile reactionary rhetoric and ignoring any meaningful action. Debate liberals in particular have a habit of replacing appeals for organizing with appeals for charity, and use fundraisers as a way of trying to buy people's loyalty. Really? They'll use fundraiser as a way to buy people's loyalty. Again, everything here is assuming intent. It's like, hey, like Dylan held a fundraiser for this organization because he cares about the organization, wants to raise money for it. No, it's not that he wanted to raise money for an organization or cause he cares about and wanted to, maybe bring some positive attention to his community that could help it grow, which could maybe be like a financial incentive that can come with charity. It's they need to buy loyalty. It can't be that they genuinely care about something. It has to be in the nefarious intention. Well, do we have evidence that proves their intention? No, but they have assumptions, and that's all they need. In a discussion with Rina Khalik, I think this is the who is Rina Khalik? I vaguely remember this name. Rina Khalik. I vaguely know the name, but I don't care enough to find out where I know the name from. But the pattern of sabotage of left-wing movements in the West, and especially the anti-war movement, lifelong activist and PSL co-founder Brian Becker remarked, "Counter-revolutions don't announce themselves as counter-revolutions. They announce themselves as revolutions because of something hopeful, something new, something better." Well, this just seems like a justification to assume people's intention, but whatever. Debate liberals in NAFO, CNN radlibs. Okay, let's start here. Oh boy, it's me. In 2022, Dylan Burns, a central debate sphere figure. A central debate sphere figure. Wow, that's very nice of them. In LibertyCon panelist who claimed to have worked for the Mike Gravel campaign, Mike Gravel as a campaign director, became it. Wait, what do you mean who claimed? What do you mean claimed to work as Mike? You could do some research into this, and it's not a claim that happened. What's this? I was just asked to clarify. Dylan Burns 1776 was not a campaign director for the 2022 Mike Gravel campaign. I was the digital director, and I can tell you there were only a handful of people. I would have remembered him. Dylan was a volunteer who ran a Twitter account. So I was a Now, to be clear, I was the director for the Maryland campaign. Originally, I was the deputy director for the Maryland campaign, and then I became the state director. I have always claimed to be the state director and nothing more. I am the state director of the Maryland campaign. I was the state director of the Maryland campaign. I don't know if they would care to correct the record on this, but that is the case. I was not like one of the main Gravel teens. I never claimed to be. I was the state director. I'm sure I can get you people that can reaffirm this. I know Jake Burdett, who was somebody who was my deputy director after I was moved up from deputy director to state director. He can reaffirm this if that is necessary. But I mean, this is just the case. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if I can find some old screenshots of it, but I was state director of the Mike Gravel Maryland campaign. So I guess we're not even a sentence in. There's already one problem with the article. Becoming a leading spokesperson for the NAFO social media op. When they say social media op, does that mean like it's an operation by the government, or it's like something that just posts images? NAFO, or the North Atlantic Fellow Organization, seems to exist for the sole purpose of public. By the way, when they say it became a leading spokesperson for the NAFO social media op, to be clear, all this means is I have NAFO in my description and I post some memes. That's really all it means. NAFO, or the North Atlantic Fellow Organization, seems to exist for the sole purpose of pushing the Atlantic Council line on the Ukraine war. The other way of putting this is they support Ukraine. That would be the normal way of putting it, instead of like, they exist solely to support these bad guys who have this opinion. It could just be they support Ukraine, which is they want Ukraine to win the war and push out the invaders who have filled mass graves throughout the country, who have legally invaded the country. And as the UN has said, clearly they've illegally invaded the country and are currently kidnapping Ukrainian children. You could just say it like a normal person. NAFO has been embraced by pro-Ukraine media figures, including the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky's advisor, senior policy advisor for the U.S. Helsinki Commission, Paul Massaro, and the Prime Minister of Estonia, and even got a shout out from the Ukrainian Minister of Defense. Got you. Okay. Let's concentrate on me, though. Burns and the ideological allies like notorious streamers Vaush, Ian Kaczynski, Destiny, Stephen Kenneth Bunnell, Socialism Done Left, The Serfs, Xander Hall. Wait, are we saying the Serfs aren't a real leftist? Really? Man, the purity testing is insane here. So literally everyone in the space isn't a real leftist, okay? It's all just the International. They're the only real leftists. And you can show how much of a real leftist they are by how much they want to infight. That's how you can prove that they're real leftists. Xander Hall, Keffals, and others are likely to describe themselves as liberal, leftist, or even anarchist and socialist. Still, they're strangely comfortable with outright fascists apologizing for the Azov Battalion. Apologizing for the Azov Battalion. What's this link? Twitch in wartime. How? Okay, I am quoted in this, but where's the Azov Battalion? Burns repeatedly stated that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is Jewish and lost family members in World War II, that Ukraine's far-right Svoboda party could only procure 2% of the vote in a recent election, and the Ukraine's far-right Azov Azov regiment accounts for under 1,000 members of Ukraine's total armed forces, which in total size is in the hundreds of thousands. Wait, this is all true. How is this apologizing? And this is all just true. These are all facts. Nothing about this is wrong. This is why the Washington Post reported it and didn't correct me when I said this, and when they asked me the question, when the Washington Post asked me about this in March of last year. So is the critique that I said something that was inconveniently true? Or was I just supposed to like not mention that when people ask me about that? Whatever. Parroting anti-Semitic rhetoric as a thought experiment. What is this?
Hey folks,
Oh, Bad Empanada. Look, if that's Bad Empanada, like critiquing somebody, okay, he's probably 100% right, because we know he's very attached to reality. What is this, a 9-minute video? Jews did not control the banks in Weimar, Germany. Oh, okay, I got this. So this is when like Vaush was debating somebody. I think it was Luna Oi and non-compete. I think it was non-compete. And in the non-compete debate, he at one point said that Jews in Germany had a more influence in the banking system than the general population. And before he could finish his point, non-compete ended up leaving, and then Vaush's ending point ended up being, my point was that certain facts like that can be true, but then the conclusions taken away from them can still be totally different than from what the Nazis concluded. For example, you can conclude that the reason that that might be the case is because these are job markets that Jews a lot of times were historically forced into due to discrimination. That is what I vaguely remember from what the point Vaush made. I don't know why he doesn't post what Vaush himself said instead of a different person's interpretation of what Vaush said. Let's continue. Or platforming Lauren Southern. So this is, I assume, a reference to that time I hosted a debate between the Serfs and Lauren Southern. The thing that's interesting here is let's watch what apparently is the bad thing that like shows the collusion, the deep like kind of special ops for the that is trying to cause discontent on behalf of the the CIA and the deep state. Let's see exactly what the Serfs said that engaged in this platforming of Lauren Southern, because he says platforming Lauren Southern. To be clear, the Serfs did his best to make Lauren Southern look as bad as possible at the end of this debate, even in this clip specifically. Just watch.
Going to just, well, at the same time, all of it bubbles over and boils over to the point where at the end of the day, you ultimately led to one of the people contributing towards the Christchurch shooting, who declared that the Great Replacement theory was one of the reasons why they committed the atrocity that they did.
That doesn't sound very nice. That doesn't sound like somebody trying. Remember, one of the central premises that they started this off of is that the space exists to rehabilitate the far right. Then we go to the clips that they're linking to, show evidence of this, and it's the Serfs saying that Lauren Southern contributed to a terrorist attack. That doesn't sound like rehabilitation to me. Almost like it's a somewhat diverse community, and this person is painting with extremely broad strokes. Anyway, the rest of this is just them going back and forth, him saying you contributed to a terrorist, you did the thing with the migrant ship. You get the idea. Let's see. In Nick Fuentes for debates or for dinner, this is a reference to Destiny having a dinner with Nick Fuentes. This group may justify the platforming of far-right ideas by claiming that by doing so, they're succeeding at understanding and ultimately deprogramming the far right. Realistically, though, the opposite tends to be true. The debate sphere and NAFO are distinct but interrelated. The latter is a pro-Ukraine troll farm funded by a Polish neo-Nazi going by Kamili on Twitter, real name Kamil Draz, I don't know how to say his last name, and former Marine Matt Barnes. So, to be clear, they say it's founded by a Polish neo-Nazi going by this. NAFO is a meme. It eventually they started like an actual website and they had like a Discord, but it's like a meme. It's like a meme that gets reposted. This would be like saying they are the founder of Pepe. They're the founder of Peepo. It's like, there's not a founder for that. There's a person who may have originally created the meme, was involved in originally creating the meme. Who in I think 5 or 6 years ago posted a lot of anti-Semitic, a lot of really bigoted stuff. Now, claims that they have rehabilitated since then. When this stuff came out, I even asked him in private because of all the stuff that was going on. What is this, dog? This is really terrible. And he told me he rehabilitated. I haven't really talked to him since then. I don't know if he's rehabilitated or not. I don't know him really on a personal level. But the idea it was founded makes it sound like, it was. It makes it sound like it was like an organization, like a company that works in constant support of CIA interests, when it's a meme that has continued to expand it as the war has gone on in order to send aid to Ukraine. And many different groups, including the Georgian Legion, but the Georgian Legion isn't even the only group. In fact, I think the Georgian Legion probably hasn't even gotten the majority of the money at this point. I think the majority of the money has probably gone to different sources. Whether it's gone to a former Marine, I don't really care. And they say a pro-Ukraine troll farm. But as far as I'm aware, I have yet to see any like botting or anything of that from NAFO. There's been no evidence provided of that, and that just seems to be like, you know, a vague claim without evidence. They created it as a means of funneling money to the Georgian Legion, a far-right militia within the Ukrainian military, notorious for committing heinous war crimes. I feel like this is something that should have come with a link or a... If you're... Okay, so to be clear, they have links for like the streamer drama in this article. They have links for like Vaush and Destiny, but they don't have links for like people dying. They don't have links for like war crimes. I assume the reason is that it has never actually been proven that the accusations against the Georgian Legion for war crimes are true. It hasn't been substantiated with substantial evidence. They have been accused, and I am concerned about those accusations, and I hope that there is a strong investigation done into it, and the people who could have done war crimes are held accountable, no matter the side they're on, whether they're on the Ukrainian side or the Russian side. I don't know if I would describe the Georgian Legion this way. I have heard things about the Georgian Legion that are not fantastic. I've also heard from other people that those things are just like propaganda and it's nonsense. I don't know the Georgian Legion close enough to really get into any more detail than that, besides the fact that the Georgian Legion has not really been found having been convicted of war crimes, and there hasn't been substantial evidence provided that they have committed the war crimes. I think the one piece of evidence that was provided is that somebody committed a war crime while wearing a Georgian flag, but just because you're wearing a Georgian flag does not mean you're part of the Georgian Legion. The Georgian Legion has like a specific symbol that has like a wolf on it, and that patch would have probably been better evidence as well. But as far as I know from the video that I'm recalling from, because again, they don't link what the heinous war crime is, I don't remember that badge being on. But if they are guilty of war crimes, I really do hope that they are held accountable for it. But since the group's founding, they have raised money for a lot of other organizations. They have raised money for demining. They have raised money for medical equipment. They have raised money for generators. They have raised money for whole different types of charities. NAFO, identifiable by avatars of widened Shiba Inu dogs and military hardware, were created by this person. This actually isn't true that they're created by this person. Originally, he was one of the person creating most of them, but now it's actually a bunch of different people who are creating them. They call them, believe they're called forgers. It's now owned by a merch brand called St. Javelin, exposed by researcher Moss Robson for its ties to the Banderite organization of the Ukrainian nationalist OUN-B. So which one is this? Let's see. This is on Medium. This is the best. Ukes and Spooks, NAFO. Jesus Christ, this is a gigantic article. So the organization of Ukrainian nationalists doesn't exist anymore. That was like Stefan Bandera's group. Is this like an offshoot that like claims to be a continuation? 1 second. Yeah, it looks like that. 20,000 sides. It looks like a continuation, an offshoot. Yep, right here. Got you. The continuation of it. While some NAFO adherents may claim to be more liberal. By the way, what is the connection? What is... 1 second. Let's see. Saint Javelin. Let's see what the connection is to the organization. Saint Javelin agreed to be a parent company to NAFO, as well as to help organize the phenomenon. It's partnered with the Ukrainian World Congress, the 21st century leadership, which has been dominated by people associated with collaborators of the criminal organization. Wait a second. They don't have ties to the OUN. They have ties to the Ukrainian World Congress, which has people in it who have ties to the OUN. Wow, what can you expect from a Median article? While some NATO adherents may claim to be more liberal, many are more openly fascistic and have been spotted being chummy with Bolsonaro supporters or spewing outright unhinged Nazi rhetoric. The majority of NATO people are unbelievably welcoming, unbelievably supporting. But the problem is with any meme, definitely when it's on Twitter and it's not like an official membership thing. That's the thing with NAFO. There's no like official NAFO membership, so there's no filter. It's like with Pepe or Peepo. You can't control everybody that posts Pepe in chat. Some people are going to post Pepe in chat and you're just a Twitch streamer having a good time. Other people, they're going to be posting Pepe in chat and they're going to be trying to communicate a totally different message. And so, yeah, there are people who have taken up the NAFO image who have said really bigoted things, as is true probably with any meme, especially political memes. Burns quickly adopted the NAFO mantle and has launched himself from a political debate streamer into embedded war reporter. What's the link here? He puts it in quote marks, so I guess I'm not a real reporter. I'm like a fake reporter. And then he posts an image of me like documenting war crimes, which, by the way, I like that this is not real journalism, this video right here, even though it is, I think, the only publicly existing footage of a war crime committed by the Russian army shelling Ukrainian civilians and murdering them. Like this bombardment that they did, this is the most high quality footage. I think the only other footage I saw was like from CCTV footage from like across the city, and like it was like it showed something missing a bridge. Like that's the only other thing I could find. This is the only existing footage of a war crime that was committed by the Russian army, which was the deliberate targeting of civilians in the city that day. And apparently that isn't good enough journalism. I'd like to see this person do better journalism instead of writing about, you know, Twitch streamers. Kaczynski, for his part, recently raised funds for Sign My Rocket, proudly posting a picture of the shell signed online. I've actually done a video essay about that on my main channel if you wanted to go check that out. I met the people behind it and interviewed them. And I talked about some of the moral dilemmas about the commercialization of violence, which I guess they don't give me credit for here. The more liberal debate sphere and NATO types have embraced the position of the Democratic Party and NATO, with all the hawkishness and smug cruelty that implies. I think there's two that's here. Obviously proofread article with multiple links not working and misspelling mistakes. Many of them routinely portray more zeal than the Pentagon for the opportunity to invoke Article 5. What's more zeal than the Pentagon? What's this? What's the post? U.S. privately asked Ukraine to show its open... This is just an article. This is... Who is... No, this isn't even about a streamer or any of us. It's just an article. Whatever. More zeal than the Pentagon for the opportunity to invoke Article 5, often using it as a meme. Okay, so it's a joke, okay? I mean, is this like getting offended that we joke about like the Poles wanting to be like, let me at him at the Russians like he's Scrappy-Doo? Sorry, that was so offensive. I truly offended you. This was clearly on display by both Kaczynski, let's see what he did. Let's see what Vaush did. Raise your hand if you fully support Poland initiating a global nuclear holocaust to invade its 2 villagers. It's just a joke. It's a joke. I'm sorry you're such a sourpuss. What's in Burns? What did I do? What was the horrible thing I posted? Every Polish person in my DMs right now. That's a joke, but it was also semi-true, okay? That was also semi-true. That's a funny that's a funny image, by the way. That's a good image. This is a good meme, okay? I need to use this meme more often. I appreciate them reminding me of this meme. During the scare in Poland, with the Ukrainian intelligence misreported on the Iranian missile on the Russian as Russian in origin. Kaczynski is a troll and loves to hide behind claims that his reactionary statements are always just edgy jokes. But this always results in him courting a more openly and rabidly right-wing pro-war fan base as time goes on. What is Vaush's stance on the war in Yemen? Drop all support. What's Vaush's stance on the Israeli government? Oh yeah, that stance got him banned off of Twitch. I wonder if that's too pro-libtard for you. What's Vaush's stance on the war in Afghanistan? Should we have left or should we have stayed, right? It's just that we support Ukraine. That's literally it. We support Ukraine. You don't care about Ukraine and its people. Therefore, we're willing to say we want to support their defense. You're saying they should cave, they should give in, and that is enough for us to be the horrible, terrible people because we made some edgy jokes. Like, yes, it is an edgy joke. It is an edgy joke. Do you think that Vaush actually wants a global thermonuclear war? That's his genuine position. Come on, this is a silly article. Debate liberals like him ultimately reflect the rad-lib position that America saved the world by nuking Japan. Wait. And is within its right to do so again whenever it pleases in the name of human rights. Really? Outside the United Nations calls on NATO and implies no-fly zone on Ukraine. What? And is within its rights to do so again whenever it pleases. Vaush saying we dabbed on 4 to 5 million dead Korean. Okay, so I'm gonna be for real. Now, as much as the Korean War was one of the most horrific wars we've ever fought in, a lot of people died. I don't want to get too into it right now. I am very sure that Korea is not Japan, and we didn't nuke Korea, we nuked Japan. So where's the link to Vaush
Burns
calling for the nuking of
immoral,
Japan?
Morally corrupt, bankrupt man.
Dude, did he just like, who wrote this? It just feels like they didn't source anything. Or they feels like they put sources here. I feels like they put sources just to say they put sources, not put sources to actually give evidence of the claims that are being made that don't have any evidence to support them. I know Vaush. I'm pretty positive. I can't say I know because I never directly asked him about it, but I'm pretty positive Vaush doesn't support the nuking of Japan. Horseface, thank you so much for the Prime and being sub for 3 months. I appreciate it. NAFO, such as it is, reflects a calculated emphasis on cyber warfare the U.S. has especially been pursuing over the course of this war. As a recent competitive study from the University of Allendale demonstrates, as Robinson analyzed for me over a call, the strength of NAFO is that any loser can get on and make a NAFO dog. See, that's the thing. He understands that anyone can be in NAFO. Literally anyone can join NAFO. But then is going to hold us accountable for every single person that has ever put on a NAFO avatar and they're representative of the organization. And now there are many of them. Now many of them support Bolsonaro. Now many of them are racist. But also, you acknowledge the fact that literally anybody can put a NAFO avatar on their account. Just like anybody can put any avatar on their account, and anybody can participate, even if we don't want them to, in a meme. Giving it organic air so that any state actor could just get in on it without having to spend anything.
Bookworm_AF gifted 10 tier 1 subscriptions.
Wow.
Soup time.
Soup time. That is soup time. 10 tier 1 subs is soup time. You better be careful, though. You just gave 10 tier 1 subs to the liar about the Mike Gravel campaign, to the person who apparently wanted to nuke Japan, to the creator of discontent in the community and tension as this defeater for the CIA that I am, at the behest of my masters in Washington. Thank you for the 10 tier 1 subs. I appreciate it, buddy. Clearly, think tanks like CSIS and the Atlantic Council propaganda warriors Michael Weiss are paying attention. In light of past obvious attempts at cyber warfare, particularly in SOS Cuba and Bolivia bot campaigns, which the Atlantic Council Digital Forensic Research Lab dissected in 2019, is arguably the organic seeming nature of NAFO that has made it a successful model. Though Robinson is not sure that trying to replicate that at an institutional level will result in a similar success in the case of a NAFO Iran or a Taiwan edition. Taiwan edition would be awesome, actually. He observes that the more think tanks and state intelligence tries to replicate NAFO, the more obvious it will become. Okay, so is this an acknowledgement that NAFO is organic? Or is this a claim that it seemingly, because I saw it was like, it's seemingly organic, just like they said I was seemingly a reporter, right? It feels like there's a lot of doubt and question marks being thrown everywhere with no evidence. The ease with which the debate sphere liberals align with the interests of American empire makes one wonder about some of the things they find cool and funny, such as Kaczynski joking about being a police informant. Really? Oh, come on. Are you this much of a stick in the grass? Are you this much of a loser? I'm sorry, actually, unironically. Really? This is it?
Like a Fed op. Like, you could say that about literally anything. You know, there are informants everywhere. I'm an informant. Why do you think I did Antifa work back in Santa Monica? You know, yeah, I was ratting out names. Absolutely, we've all been informants. You know,
we've all been informants. Yes, totally unjoking, real statement. Oh my god, I can't believe he can joke. It's such. Can you imagine a human being joking about being a police informant? It's so terrible. Can't imagine a worse thing ever done. NAFO here. This whole thing just sounds like this whole article is just whinging. The whole article is whinging with lack of sources, and just like bogus, kind of like vague claims, putting question marks everywhere with nothing to back it up. That's what it feels like. NAFO adherents are especially, not to mention a huge assumption of intentions, right? Like, should I just be like, the reason that this person wrote this article was to capitalize on names like Vaush and Dylan to bring up their own profile in the international magazine because they know that without my image and Vaush's image, they could never succeed. That would be a silly thing for me to assume because I don't know the person behind this. I tried to Google them. Nothing came up. I don't know who they are, what they do in their free time. I don't know anything about them. So I can't make any assumptions like that. But this person's very, very willing to make assumptions about other people. NAFO adherents are especially tickled by setting their location to Langley, VA, and joking about being CIA, as Robinson demonstrates. What do you mean demonstrates? Yeah. What do you mean Robinson demonstrates? He did a study to figure it out. This is meant to be disarming and self-effacing, but given the highly suspect connections of several of these individuals, should be taken with some caution. This really just feels like he's angry that people joke about it, and he's just molding as people joke about it. That's what it feels like. He's just angry that people are, like, half of this section complaining about me and Vaush is just complaining about jokes. That's half of the section. It's just complaining about jokes. That's it. By the way, I thought they'd have more on me. I thought they'd have like more dirt. I thought there'd be more dirt on me out there in existence. Well, he had to make up dirt, like the Mike Gravel stuff, so not that surprising. Personality cult leaders in the debate sphere have, unsurprisingly, entertained alarming rhetoric and behavior regarding sexual assault. Kaczynski, in particular, has an entire controversies page on his wiki. The debate sphere leaders entertain alarming rhetoric and behavior regarding sexual assault. Kaczynski in particular has an entire controversies page on his wiki dedicated to his alleged history of abusing and harassing behavior and pedophilic language. He has, why not put a link here? I feel like a claim like this needs a link, but there's no link. So guess we just keep moving as we just throw these things around. I assume this is from the notorious Vaush clip. He has also admitted to stalking and harassing one woman who turned him down for sex for over a year. Is that true?
I realize
I am not watching a 33-minute video. Okay, we're gonna just keep going. Okay, a master of plausible deniability and feigned disinterest, he uses LGBTQ plus charity fundraisers to build up goodwill. Can't be that he cares about gay people. Must be that it's to build up goodwill. While also engaged in homophobic incitement with his outright fascist friend Shoeonhead, June Nicole Lapine, who he has defended repeatedly against the protestations of his own fans. As far as I know, Vaush has been pretty critical of Shoeonhead as of recently. Am I wrong about that, chat? I haven't been paying attention to the Vaush Shoeonhead stuff. I don't pay attention to the interpersonal drama that often. Hasn't he been pretty critical of Shoeonhead recently, or am I wrong? Yep, yes. He always has been. He has been critical of her. He's constantly critical of her, or whatever. Always has been? Okay. I don't know who I should chat. This article on the internet, which has already gotten multiple things wrong and doesn't cite their sources, or chat. The world may never know. A master of plausible deniability and feigned disinterest, he uses LGBTQ plus charity fundraisers to build up goodwill while also engaging in a homophobic incitement. Homophobic incitement. Sorry, but fuck 'em. Vaush's controversial kink at pride takes get ratioed across queer Twitter. This is like 3 paragraphs. Controversial live streamer and left-wing YouTuber. Well, that's better actually than everything else we'd be getting. Controversial live streamer and left-wing YouTuber Vaush created waves on Twitter on Monday as he spoke out about his thoughts on kink at pride, claiming events should be welcoming for all ages rather than celebrating individuality and sexual expression amongst the queer community. Users on Twitter exploded over his take on the matter, slamming him on his previous position on lowering the age of consent. And he's never wanted to lower the age of consent. And claiming he is completely misinformed as to why the inclusion of kink and pride is so crucial to the event itself. Oh, actually, no, it's a larger article. Kink at pride makes people uncomfortable and makes the event less accessible, when accessibility should be a priority. Keep less family-friendly stuff to the many, many after parties and adjacent private venues every pride has. The fact that it's controversial is insane to me. I don't really think that's that homophobic. I mean, you can disagree with his opinion, but this doesn't really feel homophobic. I was expecting him to be like, those dirty queer. That's what I was expecting. Pride should be a cool, queer-friendly block party you can attend to meet with organizers and get cute shirts. Everyone should be able to attend. It should be safe and uncontroversial. Dismissing accessibility as sanitization is a really underhanding and disgusting strategy. Vaush, who identifies as pansexual according to Rational Wiki, confirmed. On YouTube, Vaush uploaded a 26-minute video explaining his take on allowing kink at pride and called out streamers for being selfish in their position and making pride fit their adult interests. I want you all to understand that the fact that I'm being forced to discuss this is genuinely pathetic, and I am actually disgusted by the broader behavior of the left-leaning community. Not because all of you are pedophiles, but because none of you are stupid enough to understand the arguments that I am making. Okay, so that is egotistical, right? That's egotistical. You might even say that's an asshole-ish statement, but that's not homophobic. Whatever. Let's keep going. You can disagree with that, but I don't think it's a homophobic belief to believe that you should have a family-friendly pride event and then the stuff should be after. You can disagree with that. You can disagree with that. You can say, I don't think that's better for the movement, but that's like a disagreement of tactics, and a disagreement of tactics isn't homophobic. Where are we going? Oh yeah. With his outright fascist friend Shoeonhead, whom he defended repeatedly against the protestation of his own fans. We already said that. He'll be claiming to defending LGBTQ plus and women's rights, while at the same time calling trans people who disagree with him subhuman ingrates. I will say, unironically, I never felt too comfortable with the way both Destiny and Vaush use the word subhuman. I don't think it comes from a hateful place. I think that they just want to be like, they want to use a really punchy word, you know, get in there. And subhuman is like, oh, it has a punch, you know? It definitely has a punch. I never liked it, though. I don't like language that is too dehumanizing. I try my best not to use it. Justifying the use of tactical misogyny and posting outright baffling things about lesbians. What's an outright baffling thing about lesbians? I'm so curious at what a this is all like a Kinder Surprise egg. Dude, the thing is with these links that's great is every single one of these links is like a Kinder Surprise egg. You have zero clue what you're gonna find no matter what has been written down. Absolutely zero clue. You know, this B has a BF or something. Actual lesbians just ignore men. They're too busy sharing clothes and squishing their boobies together, and so on and so on. The loudest, angriest, and most vitriolic man-haters are bitterly heterosexual women. I can't tell. So this one, I can't tell where the joke starts and the serious statement begins, but I will agree, that's the first actual link. It is somewhat baffling. In response to Andrew Tate's arrest for sex trafficking in Romania, Koczynski turned to a new grith, positioning himself as a kind of Andrew Tate for leftist men, while blaming Tate's popularity on the nebulous left. Eyebrow raising, considering his proven history with sexual harassment. Let's see. What did he
No matter
say?
what the content of this video ends.
How the left helped make Andrew Tate popular. You know, this is a 50-minute video, so I'm not going to be watching this, okay? But I'm going to take a swing here, and this is just a guess in the dark. I could be right, I could be wrong. I'm going to take a swing. I'm going to guess at what's in this video. My guess is in the video, he says that we need like a leftist Andrew Tate, and then proceeds to like describe somebody who could be a positive influence for men and talking to them about issues like consent. That's my swing. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Let's continue. These influencers are generally hostile to land back. I don't have any position on land back. I don't know enough about it. And describe indigenous self-determination as blood and soil nationalism. That's a Vaush position. He'll have to defend that himself. While protesting constantly about defending Ukrainian sovereignty. I do care about Ukrainian sovereignty. They have barely a word to utter about social movements in the global south and minimize the U.S. role. Actually, well, I don't want to get too like screechy, but like I care a lot about Myanmar. I made a few videos about Myanmar, and I've talked about I think a decent amount about how I think the PDF and the rebels that have been fighting against the fascistic military junta and its oppression have my full support, and I hope they all have good aim. I mean, I'm sorry if I didn't cover the exact stuff you wanted me to cover, but you know, there's only so much time in the world and so much research I can do. I'd like to make sure that when I talk about something, like when I really talk about something, not just like react to something on the internet, that I want to have some decent amount of knowledge that I feel like I can contribute in some way, and not just be like just regurgitating what I've heard somebody else say for viewership. Because I don't think that's very productive to the space, and I don't think it adds anything. So I try to, you know, I try to be very careful about when I really try to enter a foreign policy conversation. But I'd like to cover more stuff in the global south. I'd really like to, in the future, cover more stuff about cartel violence and how we can try to undermine cartel violence while still recognizing the sovereignty of the Mexican state. Anyway, let's continue. And minimize the U.S. role in the capitalist world order. Their anti-communism, especially an obsession with tankies, is often accompanied by unspoken but detectable racism and sexism. Okay, you know what I really don't like about this article? It's always they, them, they are often this, they are often that. Can we be specific about who we're talking about? Because I'm in the article. So is my position of being against like authoritarian communism, right? Which is how I view tankies, right? Coming off of the tanks that rolled over the protesters protesting against the Soviet Union. Is that filled with racism and sexism? And if so, where is it? Because it feels like this is just about Vaush. Like a lot of this just feels like it's just about Vaush. So just say Vaush, don't say them, because then you're painting again, broad brush. Koczynski and his allies, on more than one occasion, viciously smeared women comrades of color, notably creators like Professor Flowers, I know nothing about it, and Luna Oy, again, I know nothing about it, while showing politeness and restraint to right-wingers like Charlie Kirk. Again, I've never talked to Charlie, and Tim Pool never talked to Tim, so I guess this is just, again, complaining about Vaush talking to Charlie Kirk and Tim. Debate liberals fundamentally consider themselves left-wing American patriots. True. Making them not that different from Pat Socks. So the Pat Socks are like the MAGA guys, or the MAGA communists they usually referred to. If you go to a policy by policy basis, if you ask the Pat Socks what their position on Ukraine is, it's completely different than what the liberal position on Ukraine is, quote unquote. If you ask the Pat Socks what their position on Taiwan is, it's very different than what the position of the liberal is on Taiwan. And you can go point by point, issue by issue. You're going to find a lot of stuff like that, whether it's the issues of LGBTQ plus people, foreign policy issues, any host of issues. To say that they're really no different because they love their country is silly. The difference is that they frame American empire as the primary driver for progress on issues like LGBTQ plus rights. The primary driver for progress. That's not true. I don't think it's the primary driver for progress. I do believe the United States should help push LGBTQ plus issues on the world stage by, you know, helping accept LGBTQ plus refugees, by, you know, working with NGOs that can help get people resources, you know, medicines for HIV, stuff like that. And I do believe that nation states that, you know, torture homosexuals, like what has happened in Chechnya, for example, where they extrajudicially murder homosexuals, or Kenya, which they have outlawed homosexuality. I do believe the international community should do their best to support the LGBTQ plus community in Kenya and Chechnya, while not decreasing the living standard of Chechens and Kenyans, and hurting the LGBTQ plus process that you wanted to help in the first place in the process. Anyway, unlike the backwards nation that it must police, they make no secret of their belief in the white man's burden. Okay, come on, dog. But unlike the more conservative Pat Sox, they prefer to do it as anarcho-Bidenists or NATOists rather than MAGA communists. Okay, and then it gets into, wait, is there more here? Other broadly connected with the faction includes Burns' former boss Mike Gravel, journalists Razvan Kadyrov, Stan Simera Khan, and then okay, so this seems to be about the Pat Sox, or, you know, the MAGA communists, which is all stuff that I probably disagree with. And then there's the Ted Kaczynski stuff at the end, and I think I'm done. I'm gonna be honest. I've been covering this for almost like an hour. I think I'm done. This article doesn't really have much to offer. I thought it would have more to offer, but it seems to mostly just be whinging, complaining about jokes, improperly cited statements, and sometimes just completely wrong statements, just implying things that aren't true, or just saying things that aren't true, or linking to things that are not true. Anyway, I guess I'm done here. I have truly been wrecked and owned. I fear the upcoming anti-anarcho-Bidenist revolution. I'm sorry. Guys, I deeply apologize for this post, man. It's too offensive. It's too offensive, man. I can't believe I commented on the fact that Poland doesn't like Russia, and I memed about it. Very offensive. Guys, will you ever accept my apology?